What's going on, y'all? Welcome back to another episode of the Major Keyz podcast with your host, Zach Wilson, talking to keyboard players about music and life and everything in between. Today, as always, we have a special guest, Mr. Vaughn V. Keyz Henry. What's going on, bro?
Man, nothing much, man. I appreciate you having me here, brother.
Absolutely, man. Yeah, so we'll talk about everything, like start from the top and like to where you are now. Like, you know, the first time I've been following you maybe since 2016-ish, 2017, when you came to Atlanta with Ghost Note.
Oh yeah.
That was the first time that was the first time I saw you. And I'm like, you know, I've kind of been keeping up with you ever since. So,
Oh, wow.
but yeah, man, I was like, you know, glad that you could do it.
Yeah, man.
For sure.
Appreciate it.
So yeah, let's start from the top. How did you get started playing keys?
Man, I've been playing. I don't exactly know. I've been playing since I was 2 years old, man. I've never not known music to be in my life. This was a gift that was given to me by God, of course, because, you know, before I remember talking, before I remember anything, I was already playing music. This is all confirmed by my family. So it was just something that was always a part of who I was. I believe I was called to it, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I started at the age of 2 and been playing ever since.
Got you. So you started at 2, like just
Mhm.
just banging on keys at 2, or was it like, oh, he can actually like hear stuff
So I think what it was, I think it might have started with banging, but
Mm-hmm.
it was a lot of banging. So I'll give you the story that was told to me
Yeah,
by
yeah.
my family. There I was 2 and it was around Christmas time, and my mom bought me a whole bunch of presents, a whole bunch of toys, from Walgreens, to include keyboard, a drum, little kid's drum thing, and like a xylophone.
Mm-hmm.
And there was, of course, the regular toys for boys, cars, trucks, all the other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, it was told to me that my mom returned all the other stuff because I never opened the other stuff, and
Oh, wow.
I never showed any interest in the other things.
Mm-hmm.
Which makes a lot of sense because even now, like, I'm not interested in a lot of things, music.
Yeah.
uh, so it basically started there, and that was just my only interest. So that was what I was doing all the time, and I think it turned from banging to making sense kind of quickly. Um, Probably like within a few months of just doing that.
Mm-hmm.
And then by the time I was 3, um, it was told to me that I was like basically trying or attempting to make tracks on these little keyboards.
Oh, wow.
Like, yeah, I was
So this is
attempting
like
to,
a
like,
Casio sort of
there's
like, what
like a
was
little,
the
real small thing, and you know, like how they have the little demos, like where you can have, like, you
yeah.
can choose the type of beat you want,
Mm-hmm.
16th note beat, the disco. So then, like, I would be like putting on the disco beat, like not the demo with music already to it.
Yeah,
I'd be
yeah.
putting on the disco beat and then playing music along with it. And I remember my best friend, growing up, his name's Justin Francis, and he was a drummer. He was the drummer at my home church that I grew up. He was a pastor's son, and he said he remembers. He's like 6 years older than me, so he remembers him at 9 years old seeing me at 3, and I was playing "Let My People Go,"
Mm-hmm.
along with the little beat thing, and he just was like shocked because he had never seen a 3-year-old play,
Right.
like, playing chords
Mm-hmm.
and stuff like that at that age. So these are things that I've don't really remember, but they were told to me. Um, and so I don't remember ever not doing music, you know.
Wow.
Yeah.
Got you. Got you. So did you so like are you like completely self-taught? Like did you ever like have a formal like, oh, this is like my instructor that I go to every week? Did you ever get to that point?
I got to that point uh a little bit later in life. I took a year off of high school, and then out of high school I took a year off from just I was just trying to play around town. I'm from Miami, Florida, for those who
Okay,
don't.
got you, got you.
I was just playing around town. I was at that time, actually my senior year of high school, I got hired at Cooper Temple. Sorry about that. Yeah, I was hired at Cooper Temple my senior year of high school. And so around that time I met David Shiverton, amazing drummer for those who don't know. Uh and he was like, he encouraged me. He was just like, man, I hear that you have something super special, and I want you to cultivate that, and I want you to make that um maximize what God has given you.
Hmm.
And he introduced me to my professor, and he was just like, yeah, you need to go to school, apply, do this, do that.
Hmm.
And then so I, not having any formal training before that, I was 20, I believe, or no, I was 19. Yeah, I was 19 in 2012. That was when I um, entered into college, and then
And then
that
where was this? What school did you go to?
this was a community college in South Florida called
Hmm.
Broward College.
Hmm.
And yeah, I entered the program there, and I began studying classical piano and jazz at the same time.
Hmm.
I didn't know anything. I had no formal training, so doing that at the college level was it was really difficult for me. But
Hmm.
what it did was it challenged me and it pushed me. And at that time, I was practicing for like 8 hours a day,
Mm.
like every day, so
Yeah.
that I could get better fast and become become at the college level that I was already supposed to be at entering. My
Yeah.
professor saw something in me too.
Hmm.
And with the recommendation from David, he accepted me into the program, even though I had no training. I couldn't read music, I couldn't do anything.
Yeah.
And he was just like, yeah, I'm about to get him straight. And so, yeah, that's when the educational part of my music journey began.
Wow, that's crazy. So if you didn't get like formal training to like college level, so what were you playing and like working on and like getting better at between like ages 2 and like 18 then? So what were you playing and like what did that look like for you? And like did you like start gigging and like just give me that rundown?
Yeah, so of course, the gift of uh a lot of people know me for my commission tribute that I put out.
Hmm.
That I used to growing up listening to records like that, listening to a slew of gospel music,
Hmm.
uh uh R&B too, R&B, but really really just listening to a lot of gospel music, and playing in church, and just growing. I was really studying records, trying to figure out the chords and
Hmm.
what they were. I had mentors in church. One of my first mentors ever was Dwayne Bennett, and Dwayne was really serious about making sure me and the others that were under him uh, were really diligent about learning records, really specific about learning the chords, learning the nuances.
Hmm.
So from then, he was teaching us how to be professionals, didn't know it, but
Yeah.
just thought, hey, this is how you learn music, you
Hmm.
know. Um, so I was, just listening to a lot of John P. Key, Hezekiah Walker,
Hmm.
um, just listening to a lot of records. And to give you a little history, uh, I'm of a Jamaican background, and we
Okay.
grew up in Jamaican island church, basically. So we didn't grow up with the normal Black American church experience.
Okay.
So these were things that we had to seek out and really study to be able to make it outside of our circle.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay.
I spent a lot of time alone in my room studying, practicing, like working out these records, rewinding things 100 times until I figure it out, playing it super slow, trying to figure it out, and until I get it. And that's just kind of what I was doing. And then I was interested, when YouTube started to come out in like, 2005, 2006, I was like, what, 11, 12, and I was able to um start to check out Gospel Chops. That's when Gospel Chops came
Oh,
out,
okay.
and
Yeah. Yeah.
like, oh snap! Like, there's this whole other world of more music and musicians. Like that's not just records. Like,
Mhm.
you know, um, I was I'm in the generation where we got the very beginning of social media, then MySpace. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
MySpace is how I found out about Doobie Powell. You
Okay.
know, so it's just like, little things like that just kind of entered in on the journey. And then so I was able to see, people started to post videos of jazz. I didn't have any history of jazz. Nobody that I knew of ever spoke to me about jazz at all. Didn't
Oh,
know
wow.
what jazz
Okay.
was. And so I ended up finding stuff on YouTube. I saw Oscar Peterson for the first time when I was like, 15 years old. I'm like, wow. Like, and I would try to mimic that stuff, but
Mhm.
of course I didn't have the formal training to do some of the stuff that was being done. So I had my own way of doing it and thinking about it. But it's just like I could perceive the music, even though I didn't understand it fully. I could I could hear it
Mhm.
and know. I also have perfect pitch. That's one thing that kind of helped me with being
Mhm.
able to pinpoint what's being done, and what notes are being played. And so just a combination of all that stuff, and practicing, getting better. Like, I wanted to be faster. I didn't know how to really get faster properly, but
Mhm.
it was just something that I wanted to do, and I was able to do it in my own way.
Mhm.
And so that happened, and I got to a good enough level to where I could play gospel music at a high level. And um, I was able to, even as a high school student, play at Cooper Temple. And it was cool too because I had Tadarius T. Ray McCombs. He was a super young cat that was killing since he was like 11. You
Okay.
know, so it was cool. We're only like a year apart. So that's how our relationship forged. And our sound forged as the young keyboardist and the young bass player. And we would do records outside of church together. Like, we would just do a lot of things. And so we always pushed each other, and we were always pushed, and we
Mhm.
were pushed by Dwayne. So all of that together kind of put me in a place where I was just like, man, I've really gotten good at this, but I wanted more, and I always wanted to just be better. And so
Yeah.
that's when I decided, I want to go to school and take this serious.
Gotcha. Yeah, because that was definitely my next question. It was like, so it was like middle school, high school. It was like, all right, cool. Like I'm like, I want to be a musician. Like I'm not just good at music. I want to do this like for life.
Oh yeah, it was never a question. Like,
Mhm.
it never, it never dawned on me to do anything else.
Yeah.
Like, it's never like, what do you want to be? Maybe I want to be a police officer. Maybe I want. It was never a maybe. It was always a thing of, I'm gonna be a musician. That's what I do.
Yeah.
I don't know how else to describe that. That's just what it was for me.
No, for sure. Because like some people, it's like, oh yeah, I know that I'm good at this, but like I'm gonna be good at this over here, but like I still like have another career path, and then the other career path may or may not go whatever, and they
Yep.
decide to be a musician, or it's like, or or they do the other career path and they're like, dog, I'm not happy doing this. Like,
Yeah,
so like you
exactly.
like like it. There are plenty of different stories and like ways that it could go. So
Oh, for sure. I mean, even as again, coming from an island background,
mhm.
music is considered a hobby, not a profession.
Yeah,
Um, but I just could never shake the fact that this is all that I do. This is the only thing that I'm good at, and I
yeah,
love doing it.
yeah.
And I want to do this on a professional level. And so I had to just beat, felt like I had to beat the odds, and I had to show my family I can do this on a professional level. And then so being able to get a call like that, you know, to play at a church like Cooper Temple Upper Room Ministries at the age of 17, that was my first big sign that, oh yeah, I am really gonna be doing this like at a high level for the rest
Yeah.
of my life. Because that was a staple church in the city and really in the world,
Okay, gotcha.
as far as music goes. For those who know, they know. And it was for me like to be able to be there, it was like, okay, if I can do this, like I can survive anywhere.
Yeah,
Kind of
for
so
sure.
yeah.
And so, what are your career? Well, no, let me go back. So, because like I know you also write and like producing stuff too. Were you doing that through high school, like working on that, like
Yeah, I was.
kind of
I
skill set?
was.
Yeah.
I was kind of every I was kind of all things music because
Mhm.
I knew I wanted to do it on a professional level. I'm like, I can't just limit myself to playing, you know? And also I was always I think I was always creative in that way. I think I really, if I were to describe myself, I was always a producer that happened to play or a producer that loves to play.
Okay,
Um,
gotcha.
yeah, I'm a musician, but I'm more innately a producer. I think I have always been faceted with putting music together because that's what a producer does.
Yeah.
Um, and as I got older, I've learned all the different aspects of producing. Like some of the greatest producers don't even play on their
Mm.
stuff. They understand music, like Quincy Jones. Like he understands music and he is a musician, but he does not play on his productions.
Yeah. He like
So
just oversees the
you know what I'm
whole thing.
saying? He
Yeah.
oversees the well-being of the song. And so what I realized, it doesn't mean that I can't play on my stuff. Like
Right.
that's his path. My path is that I am a musician who plays. I play everything on my production. But as a producer, I don't think about my production from a musician standpoint. I think about it as my job is to oversee the well-being of the product or the song or the album. Like that's the job of the producer. The job of the producer is not the piano player or
Okay.
the bassist. It's the oversight of the well-being of the entire product, and I may be involved in the playing process.
Mhm.
And so I've been always interested in production and putting together music. I've always been interested in being versatile. So when I first started producing, I was producing a lot of hip hop. I started on Fruity Loops.
Mhm.
So yeah, I was like really doing like, and even I was playing in church, like playing gospel, but those two things had been separate to me. Like
Mhm.
I was playing gospel music, be practicing gospel music, but when I would sit down to produce, I would be making hip hop tracks. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And then it evolved into me trying to make uh, live music productions. Like
Okay.
then
Yeah.
I was like, okay, I'm a musician. I want to put together stuff the way I've heard this. But for the first few years, all I did was just make hip hop tracks and stuff like
Interesting.
that.
Yeah.
So then I started to just, branch into everything.
Hmm.
Um, and yeah, that's I started singing in middle school, walking home from school, had nothing else to
Hmm.
do. Music is in my head, so then I start singing. Try to work on my voice, but it wasn't because I wanted to be a singer. It was really because I wanted to put music together. I wanted to
Okay,
be
gotcha.
uh and then I ended up, you know, I've always heard music, so then I ended up writing. I know you asked about writing. Like I just would always try to write. Some of the songs that are on my Clarity 2016 album were written in 2009 and just redone later on. So I was writing a lot, and just going for it. Just trying, experimenting. Didn't have a label, didn't have a purpose, didn't have anybody. I was a kid. I didn't have anybody
Yeah.
make me do it. I just wanted to do it. And so I did.
Got you, man. So, two things. When you were making the hip hop tracks, who were you listening to, like for inspiration on that end? And so, like
Mm-hmm.
you kind of touched on your approach as a producer, but I'm like, how do you put yourself like say like, okay, this is a Von Henry, this is a V Keyz production, but I'm not necessarily like all over it. Like how do you like you're in it, but you're not like physically in it. Like how do
Oh
you
no,
how do
I,
you do
I
that?
am physically all over it.
Okay.
I think what it is was I took the mindset, because a lot of where people go wrong is they take the mindset, like they try to produce from a musician's perspective. And that's not the way that I go about producing.
Uh-huh.
I try to produce from a producer's perspective the best way I can. And it becomes musical because I am musical. But I'm always thinking about, for instance, I'm always thinking about, like, okay, how many, I'll say it like this: a lot of musicians who produce from a musician perspective, like if they're producing gospel, there is a slew and an unnecessary amount of aux keyboards in gospel production today.
Mm.
It's so unnecessary.
Mhm.
And in my mind, I'm thinking about, well, if you got keys, you got organ, you got guitar, some people want horns, some people want strings, and then you have a slew of aux on top of background vocals and lead vocals that all sit in that same range.
Mhm.
As a producer, I'm thinking about that. I'm not thinking about getting all my aux, every single sound that I want inside,
Right.
of a production. I'm thinking about what sound works well. Maybe this sound, maybe I do want all these sounds in there, but I
Mhm.
want them at different times. Like this sound will only come in twice in this whole entire song, and it
Yeah.
will be where the other sounds are not playing.
Mhm.
Things like that. Like that's putting music together. That's
Mhm. Yeah.
production. For me, my inspiration when I was first starting to produce was I was listening to a lot of Christian hip hop at the time.
Okay.
Of course, I knew what was, I had watched 106 in Park, and BET, when I was younger too, so I knew the records that were out there too.
Okay, yeah.
Um, but so some records, some R&B and hip hop records inspired me. I loved Kanye stuff when I was a kid. Like that's when I started to produce, when Kanye came out with College Dropout. Like I
Mhm.
think I was already producing, but that's when I really started to like really
Mhm.
be like, yo, I really love hip hop. But I was really big into Christian hip hop, and so like Lecrae,
Yeah.
uh, I was into Lecrae in, like, 2005. Like that's a different Lecrae than we know now.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like uh, Lecrae, Trip Lee, Tadashi. I was listening to them and their um, Flame. I was listening to them and their productions, and their producers. There's a producer. by the name of JR, who was also a singer, but he was in that Christian hip hop world, but he was a singer. So he was in Christian hip hop, but he was a little bit more musical than Lecrae. And then so I was interested in what he had going on because I'm like, I'm more musical, but I'm into Christian hip hop, you know
Yeah,
what I'm
yeah.
saying? So yeah, it was just uh a lot of that at first, and just a lot of those influences, you know, they just impacted me, you know, very early on, and then I started to branch out into other things.
Got you. So after, did you graduate from college, or did you just, or you were just there and you're like, all
So
right, I'm
I
good?
got my associate's degree, and then after that, I started to I started to go on tour, and I started to, you know, just be working as a musician. I was only in college for about 3 years.
Okay.
And yeah, I would take the summers off, but I would be heavy in um, during the winter and spring and fall, winter and spring. And yeah, I was really, I was really, really excited about using when opportunities started to come to me. I was really excited about just using all the stuff that I had already gained. I had felt like I learned everything I needed to learn because my professor taught me really, really like how to. He was really practical in his education. It wasn't like the schooling, the regular schooling path, which I'm so appreciative of because there are people now with their doctorate degrees who can't play.
Oh wow.
Like it's
Yeah.
that's a thing
Mhm.
in the education world. There are people who are amazing, you know, but they'll tell you like it's very possible to, you know, um to be in the educational side of music and not be good at it still.
Mm.
And so you can just have all the head knowledge, but not know how to apply it, and don't have any soul, don't have any feeling. Music is
Mhm.
about feeling, connecting with people. Um, and so, yeah, I just decided to to jump ship and full throttle be a professional musician.
Mhm. Gotcha.
Yeah.
So tell me about some of the people, like, because I only know like a few of the people that you've played for. So like before Ghost Note, because like that'll be a separate conversation. But like so
Mhm.
before then, like so after college, like who are you playing with, and like what did that look like? You know, getting like out on the scene like for real.
Um, so before Ghost Note, so okay, I'll say it like this. Before Ghost Note, I think I really started to what it was, this is what happened. I started to pursue my own music because I was doing a lot of I started to produce for people. I think the first time that I actually produced for someone outside of myself and like a small circle of people like Christian hip hop outside of that world, like produced for like a singer who
Mm-hmm.
was doing, you know, music that wasn't hip hop was 2011. And I think from then, and I was doing all of that while still in college and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
But at a certain point, I slowed down on production in a sense. But I start and was focusing more on playing, focusing more on my school assignments, focusing out on, you know, learning how to read music, all of that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Once I got past that threshold, I started to produce a lot for people in South Florida.
Okay.
And that was taking up a lot of my time, but I enjoyed it. I started, and then a lot of it was trial and error at first,
Mm-hmm.
but at the same time, I was also producing myself, producing my own stuff. And then I started to just work on my record, and my sonics. I just noticed over time, like sonically, I started to become better. Like
Mhm.
my production started to sound like, yo, this could be like this compares to like some gospel records that's out there right now.
Yeah.
Like it sounds like it could be next to something. And so I just started to hone in on that. And I after honing in on that, I got the opportunity through Cooper Temple to meet Kim Burrell.
Okay.
That was, and got to play for her. Got to give her my music, give her my record that came out, and she blasted it all over social media.
Oh wow,
And
that's
that's
dope.
a part of how a lot of people started to discover me was through her. And then once that happened in 2016. And that was the year that we recorded a live record with her in Miami that still hasn't come out yet.
I was like, is that out? And
I
I'm like,
was see, I'm not gonna go Cat Williams on. I'm not gonna do
yeah,
that.
but
I'm not gonna
okay,
do that.
gotcha. Yeah,
We're just gonna pray that the Lord touched Sister Kim's heart and she put that record out.
yeah,
Amen.
yeah,
Y'all pray with us.
yeah,
Because it's an incredible record. It's
yeah.
it's it's incredible. Got to produce stuff with my guys, the corner. We were able to put together some amazing music for her. And from then on, I was really writing my artistry, and it was really starting to take off for me. I was my first out of town gig ever was me on the Harry Connick Jr. show as a gospel artist.
Okay,
And
got you.
that was my first out of town gig as V Keyz, which I was just like, wow, for that to be my first, like, definitely was the Lord. The Lord was able to place me in certain spaces. And so um yeah, I was just really focused on my artistry. I think that's really more what took me out of school. And then that allowed people to see what I can do and
Okay.
hear me music. My artistry was also me musically because I played and sang everything on my record. I also mixed and mastered my own record.
Hmm.
And I still do that stuff to this day. So any production you hear of mine, I've mixed and mastered it. I played most instruments. And if I haven't played um, an instrument, I always put out the credits. But if it's not me playing guitar, then it's Jonathan Dubose, like
Hmm.
almost of anything that I've put out.
Hmm.
So I think people hearing that also recognize, okay, well, this is a producer, but he's also a multi-instrumentalist. And so
Yeah.
I was able to start getting uh, gigs that way. I was getting gigs around town. I got a gig with a guy named Roosevelt Collier.
The slide guitar player. Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
He's from Miami. And so uh, my first gig with him was we recorded something in the studio, and then we did the first Ground Up Festival. And then once
Mm,
we did that, that's where I met Sput and Nate Worth.
got you. Got
6 months later, I'm doing my own thing as an artist. I dropped the commission tribute, and then that starts to go viral. Then I get a call from the Harry Connick show, and everything kind of happened for me like all at once.
you. Yeah.
Like, and then that was the year of my first ever actual tour, which was with Ghost Note.
Got you.
Um,
Okay.
first the first guy that first band that I've toured with. Um, Previous to that, I had gotten to play for Ty Tribbett in 2015 when he came to South Florida. He came to my church.
Hmm.
Uh, and it wasn't a thing like I got hired for Ty Tribbett, but we were able to play for him and make a Miami statement. Like, you know,
Nice.
so it was cool. So when I got to do the reunion tour, he never
Right.
forgot that.
Got
He
you.
remembered that. And it was really, really, really cool. Um,
Got you.
to see things come back full circle. So I've had like a lot of really cool experiences. It wasn't like, yo, I left college and then went with this R&B artist. Like it was just like a thing of I really just kind of kept working at my craft,
Mm-hmm.
and one thing led to another. Literally, one thing led to another, and after I started touring with Ghost Note, it was basically a wrap from there. Like I
Right.
started to, people knew who I was, and then they started. People know me in different worlds. Like some
Yeah.
people just know me as a musician, and later end up discovering, like, wait, you're an artist? Like you
Yeah.
sing?
Yeah.
Like like that happens a lot. Like everybody doesn't know me as all
That's
things.
everything.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, this it's just been kind of a very specific journey that God has me on,
Mm-hmm. So I want to go back to so Ghost Note. That was the first time. So that was the first time that you went on tour, and like the music is so, I'm not gonna say different, but I mean like it's involved. It's involved. So so was it like a culture shock? Was it like, oh man, like this is like super different from what I am used to, or like, so what was it like? For one thing, going on tour and
Yeah.
learning that type of like funk fusion music though.
Woo, man. I God has all of my entire journey set me up to be able, and I really literally credit this to God's gifting on my life, because I if anybody knows, that's not a space that you can just be in just to be in. Like you gotta have something to bring to the table
Yeah.
when you're on the stage with everybody's a monster. Like, and at that time it was, mono neon,
Oh
you know,
yeah, right.
but you know, you got Sly on sax, you got Jonathan on sax, Jelani on sax, who are just some of the best saxophone players I've ever heard in my life. And I'm on tour with these guys. Xavier Taplin also on keys, like being able to connect with another keyboard player the way that we connected and played together.
Yeah.
Like there were some tours that you saw only me and some tours that you saw only him. But the things that we did together, Zildjian Live being one of them, but even
Oh,
some of
love
the
those.
things that,
Love those.
that
Yeah.
aren't documented. Like we went to Tokyo, and we did, you know, man, like when we did Tokyo, we did Australia together. Like the double keyboard thing, we was wearing them. Oh man, it
Yeah.
was crazy, amazing experience. And I for me, what it goes back to, like I said, I've always been able to dissect music,
Yeah.
understand it, and understand it not just from a harmonic standpoint, but rhythmic too, and vibe wise. Like, what is the vibe of
Yeah.
the music? That's the most important thing.
Mhm.
And I'd never played funk music before, authentic funk music,
Okay. Yeah.
when I went on tour with Ghost Note, but the music was sent to me, and the first thing I did was get the Ghost Note vibe. I'm like, okay, I get the vibe, but I'm also myself, so myself is always going to come out, even if it's within
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Um, and I think that's one of the things that Sput is a genius. For those who don't know, he's an absolute music genius, and I think he could hear me play, and he just already knew. He was like, he understands vibe. Not only does he have the language and vocabulary, but he understands the vibe.
Mhm.
So I could trust him to be in my band, and that's how that happened.
Yeah.
And so even though I never had any experience in funk music, I still took the time to sit down, study the music, know it. There was no rehearsal. My first rehearsal was my first gig. Uh,
Bro.
so yeah,
Bro.
and it was just kind of like, it's like I'm like, but how you didn't? We met one night. How did you know that you could trust me to do that? He knew somehow.
That's
Um,
crazy. I'm thinking about that music with no, like,
no
hey
rehearsal,
man, if it,
no rehearsal
like
at all.
somebody having the confidence, like for one thing, to not rehearse, because the thing is, I'm like, I think Spud's confident that like with everybody together, like it'll get done. But like if
Mhm.
like me, if I'm the keyboard, I'm like, dog, can we please run through something, please? And I'm like, dog, just to make sure.
Yeah, we had a
That's
sound
crazy.
check.
Yeah.
Sput wasn't even at the first Ghost Note gig. Actually, Cleon was filling in for
Oh, it
him.
was filling in for him because he
Yeah.
had to do
So
something.
I just kind of I had to know. I just came in knowing the music, and I was open to listening and catching the vibe. And once I caught the vibe, that was basically it.
Yeah.
And we had been locked in, ever since then. Uh, it was yeah, just being able to perceive music really really helped me to do that. And then also while we were on the road, um they were putting me onto a lot of funk music that I didn't know about.
Yeah.
And so I was beginning to perceive that stuff, and it started to come out because we're in the van traveling,
Yeah.
listening to music.
Mhm.
And so that stuff really helped uh to shift my sound. Um and that also ended up shifting the sound of the band. When my
Yeah.
sound shifted, then
Mhm.
I was able to put stuff in perspective. We're all listening to this music, so we're all being changed as we go. We're all
Yeah.
being influenced. But it's happening for me, especially somebody who had never played funk. And so the yeah, we just started to get more and more funky. Like it just got it just started getting
Oh yeah,
there.
yeah,
And
for sure.
that's just kind of how it happened. It evolved over time. I was being influenced by what I was hearing and being able to put it in my own words. The music is a language.
Yeah.
Put it in my own words on stage, on my instrument. And yeah, man, that's kind of how that happened.
Got you. And so now I want to know about the Smoogies. Like how did that come about, and how did you get involved with them? And then for the people that don't know the Smoogies, if you like just explain like the
The
the vibe. Oh
Smoogies,
yeah, people
people
music.
music,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
people music.
Perfect.
So uh the Smoogies we're friends. We're friends first.
Yeah.
That is really the concept of this band. You can kind of hear it in the music. Like those are my homies.
Hmm.
Um, like real legit homies. Like if we decided not to play gigs anymore, like we would be the best of friends still. Like that's how like it started before that. So um the Smoogies, so of course it's made up of two drummers. The drummers are David Shiverton, who was drummer at Cooper Temple.
Hmm.
So that's where we know each other from. Uh, as I told you, David inspired me to go to school because David is he's actually a professor right now at the University of Miami. But he you know, it was him. It's my homie Harvell Nakundi, who's also a drum professor at the University of Miami.
Hmm.
And then one of the most amazing bass players that you will ever hear, and just dope human beings, Dion Kerr on the bass.
Hmm.
I known Dave the longest. Harvell is also he's also an all things guy. Like he plays gospel. He was on tour. He was on tour with Frankie J playing R&B. Back in the days before I was touring. And um, but he's also amazing jazz drummer. So like all of us are multifaceted musicians who
Hmm.
play multiple genres at a high level. Um, and we have I met Dion through Harvell. They went to school together.
Okay.
Uh, and so Harvell and they've always been drum brothers.
Mhm.
Uh and so yeah, I met Dion. The way I met Dion was so crazy. this is how the band came about. Um, I was playing, no, Dion and Harvell were playing at a jam session that was going on in Miami, this spot called The Corner. And there was another pianist, that was playing, a house pianist that was playing. They were part of the house band too.
Mm-hmm.
And um, I showed up to the jam session after a gig that I had, and Harvell had been telling me, man, you need to meet Dion. Like you guys need to meet. Me and Dion had never met. We met that night, we was hanging. It was a dope hang. Then they opened it up for the jam session, for people to sit in. So Harvell was like, you and Dion need to play together. And so I sat down at the piano. Dion was on the bass. He was on the drums. And we played, I never forget, we played on Green Dolphin Street. And from beat one, like the first note, it's like me and Dion had an instant connection in our sound that we had together. It was the weirdest thing ever. Because the only other time that I had that with the bass player was with Tadarius McCombs.
Okay, yeah.
That's the only other bass player that I had that with, like instant, like just a connection sonically, musically, harmonically, rhythmically. And man, we played and it sounded like we had been playing together for years. And after that, Harvell was just like, Harvell's the like more charismatic one of the group. And he was just like, oh, we got to start a band. He's like, we got to start a band. He's like, we got to be playing together. Like, first off, we homies. And he's like, one thing that I want to do is I would love nothing more than to make music with my friends, my actual friends.
Yeah.
And then so him and Dion are really the founders of the band, but we they asked us to be a part of it, and they were just like, listen, this band, it's not about egos. Like, we started the band just because we had the idea to start it, but it's not about, like, we don't consider ourselves to be the band leaders. Like, we're all of us are the band leaders.
Oh yeah,
and
I got you.
It really is that. Like, we are all the band leaders in certain aspects. Like, one of us will take control in one aspect, and if anybody says no, we're all for it. And if everybody says yes, we're all for it. And it's never nothing weird.
Super
like,
chill, easy going. Yeah.
It's super easy going. And we all know that we have each other's best interests in heart, in music and in life. So that comes forth in the music. That's how we got started. And we just would sit down. Like I said, me and David had a history. We already were playing in church together. We would do jazz gigs together sometimes as well, like with other people. So it's just like, we play together in church. We playing straight ahead together. We playing R&B together. So we already had a musical chemistry, David and I. And the moment I heard David and Harvell playing together, they sound like one drummer. I'm like, yo, but they're two totally different drummers.
Exactly.
They're two totally different, but they just it's like you can hear both of their identity, but it sounds like just one colossal, amazing thing of just drums. And so me and Dion having a connection, me and Dave having a connection, and then the drums and bass department, like Harvell and Dion are like best friends. So they had a connection, you know what I'm saying? Dion and Dave had a connection. So it's like we all connect with each other on so many levels, and that sound just came together. And so Harvell and Dion came up with the name Smoogies, which is basically a musical smoothie of all of our influences and our connection together. And then we have Planet Smoogies. That's who we are. That's where we are when we play. And yeah, man, that's just what it is. Y'all can find us on Instagram at the Smoogies Band. That's TheSmoogies band BAND.
Mm-hmm.
You can find us
Oh
there.
yeah. Oh no, man, I'm plugging everything. I got you, man. It's all gonna be in the description. I wasn't gonna leave you hanging on that.
Yes,
So
sir.
yeah, man. And so so now tell me about you just got done. Well, it got done a couple months ago, but
Mhm.
the reunion tour, which is like all the gospel heavyweights. It was Kirk Franklin, Ty Tribbett, Tamala Mann,
Israel. Yep.
Israel Houghton, and the Clark sisters.
The Clark
So
sisters.
so you got to tell me how did that call come about, and also I want to know, were you able to still be, because like I know they needed a Keyz player, but were you able to be the Keyz in that situation? Like I always want to know, like when musicians get called to
Mhm.
play for other artists, how much of yourself are you able to put in there? Do you feel it out? Like how did you approach this situation?
Okay, I'm trying to figure out where to start. Let me start with how the call happened. I'm gonna try to make this part quick. The
No,
call,
if you got time, I got time, man. They can listen.
I don't want to forget anything. So the call came about. Um, it was the Lord's doing. I say. Um, I was not the first call. I don't know who the first call was. I don't care. It doesn't matter.
Hey, man, as
Uh,
long as it gets, because I be wondering that too. I'm like, did y'all hit me up first? But I'm like,
I
hey,
was the
it
guy
got
for
you.
the job. I was the guy who God saw fit for the job. That's
Exactly.
just what it is, and I thank God for that. I know I wasn't
Absolutely.
the first call though. Uh, I was. I have a good friend by the name of Aaron Mayfield, who is amazing. And Aaron got the call. I don't know that he wasn't the first call, but he was the next in line. And
So
he
to do what? Play organ? Play
to
like MD?
play keys.
Okay. Okay. Gotcha.
Like keys. Kevin Campbell was the MD,
Okay.
right?
Gotcha.
So Kevin and Aaron have a relationship. And Kevin called Aaron and was just like, "Yo, I got this situation. I really need you." Uh, and Aaron explained to me that the Lord told him that that gig wasn't for him,
Mm,
and he said that it was for me. I was actually getting ready to go on a different tour, not gospel tour,
mm-hmm.
that I actually ended up having to find somebody else to replace me for. And Aaron called me and was just like, "Yo, what are you doing for the next 3 months?" And he told me what the situation was, and I asked him, "Why are you not taking it?" And he was just like, "Well, I got to be obedient to
Mm,
God, and God said that this is your time." And that's how I got the call. And it was kind of it was crazy because Kevin Camp, I didn't know Kevin Camp until the tour. And now he's like one of my brothers, you know.
right.
But like he didn't know who I was. He didn't know much about me. Um, and Aaron, Aaron just kind of had to tell him like, I can't do it, and I need you to trust me because Kevin needed to find somebody, you know, uh, to do it. And but of course, you know, in a situation like that with all them heavy hitters, you don't want to get somebody you don't know or can't trust.
Right.
But God saw fit for him, and I'm positive that before he actually called me and reached out after Aaron told him to get me, I'm sure he probably did his research, looked me up to see if
Mm-hmm.
I was capable, you know, and then maybe saw that I was capable and then decided to call me for it. Uh, and I I'm glad that I earned his trust and I did what I had to do. And
Mm-hmm.
that's how I got the call. And then so I'm going to try to get into the portion of I learned so much from Kevin Camp uh, on this tour as an MD. One of the things that he confirmed for me is being able to trust your band members.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, there's such a thing as over MDing, and it's annoying when people do that. It's just there is such a thing. Uh, you try to being an MD is also about selecting people that you can trust to make good decisions. So I'll say it like this: like as far as me being myself, I basically I had total freedom to be myself, and
Mm-hmm.
that's what I did every night, every day in rehearsal. We all had the freedoms to be ourselves, and the only thing is that we were trusted to be professionals and do what served the music best.
Yeah.
So that's what we did. That's
Mm-hmm.
what I did. Served the music. And of course, there is room for musical embellishment where it makes sense. Uh, I didn't do any arrangements on this tour,
Mm-hmm.
but so many people were asking me like, "Did you do these arrangements? Because this sounds like Vaughn, like this sounds like V Keys, like
Mm-hmm.
this point is it like." I'm like, "No, I didn't do any arrangements. Like Evan just let me play.
Mm-hmm.
Like he let us play. Like there's
Nice.
some spots, and everybody was creating, you know what I'm saying, as we were playing, because you gotta think about it. We were rehearsing this music, learned 60 songs in 2 weeks, and then had to play this music every night, for 3 months. We're creating.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I'm saying? Like we're gonna create. And because it's gospel music, that is the basis in which gospel music was founded, on creativity
Mm-hmm.
and faith, and the two being married to each other. And so this is a real gospel tour with real gospel legends who that's how they came up with their music, was being creative. And then they had revamped some stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and they had left some stuff open. And they did nothing but trust us for 3 months. And we proved ourselves trustworthy. I proved myself trustworthy. And so I was able to totally be myself, to the point that people thought that I was making arrangements. Like, nah, I didn't make any
Yeah.
arrangement. Unless you consider that an arrangement live in the moment,
Yeah. Right.
I just was playing and added my flair to things where there was space, and then where I felt like, okay, things need to be locked down, I just locked it down.
Mm-hmm.
Like I held it down. I held back when I was supposed to,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what we all did. We we did what we were supposed to. We kept the moments that were supposed to be straightforward and to the point. Because you're playing in an arena too, and playing in an arena is different than playing in a smaller venue where
Mm-hmm.
there is nothing but room and echo. And so how do you make that sound tight?
Mm-hmm.
Like, how do you make that sound big? Like, there's a certain way to play in an arena. And so you have to be cautious of what you choose to do. And then when you choose to do something, you got to make it count, you know, and make it musical, make sense, and make sure it adds value to what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, like I told you earlier, I am a producer
Right.
that happens to play music really well.
Mm-hmm.
And so as I'm always producing myself. So as I'm producing myself, I'm basically producing my own keyboard parts into the music. Um, and that's that's basically what was done on the reunion tour.
Got you, man. Because it was dope. Because like I've seen Ty before, I've seen Kirk
Mm.
before, and I remember when I saw the lineup, I'm like, dog, are all of them gonna have all of their own bands? I'm like, there's no way. I'm like, what's gonna be? I'm like, what's gonna be the lineup? That was like the first thing that I thought. Like when I saw the poster, I'm like, how are
Yeah.
they gonna fit this into one show? And
One
who's
shot,
playing?
yeah.
And like, I'm like, who's playing? Not that I know every single musician who plays for everybody, but I was just
Yeah.
like, I'm like, that would be just so chaotic for them to like switch out for every single artist, and then it
Yeah.
just sounds expensive. But man, it,
Yeah.
it, it sounds expensive. But nah, it was an amazing time. It was an amazing time. All right, so a couple of questions that I ask everybody.
Yeah.
What was your worst gig? What's the worst thing that's happened to you on a gig?
Oh man. I don't know if this is the worst. I've had a lot of worse.
Uh-huh.
Like, and that's one thing that people don't talk about enough is like the bad experiences that they've had.
Mm-hmm.
I've had a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So everything that I do that's good and dope, like I kind of deserve it. I've paid my dues.
Mm-hmm.
Like I had a lot of bad stuff. But I'll tell you one that comes off the top of my mind. And I think this is one of the worst because this was a Keyz gig that happened in 2018. I got asked to do a wedding as Keyz as the headliner. Like this guy was a super fan of my work,
Mm-hmm.
and I got asked to come to Canada. Now,
Mm.
a lot of this was my fault because I didn't know how to do business properly. And so I ended up getting screwed over business wise. This guy, uh, this guy hired me and wanted me to bring a band. Specifically, he wanted me to bring a band. So I hired David Shiverton. I hired Tadarius McCombs. I hired a homie from South Florida. His name is who lives in Atlanta. His name is Jay Blaze, Justin Blaze. I
Okay.
had him. I had him playing keys for me. I had Jaleesa Faye coming with me to do some features on a
Uh-huh.
song. And then he also had Doobie Powell. He had Doobie Powell as a guest artist opening for me, which was weird because at this time, me and Doobie had already been homies, and
Yeah.
I'm just like, Doobie's a legend in the game. But he had Doobie opening for me. He had me being the the main artist,
Oh
and I'm
wow.
like, okay, this sounds expensive, but okay, I told him what the rates was. Everybody agreed to the rates, and he, man, he, this was my fault. I should have never left, but this guy booked flights for us to get to Canada maybe like 2 days before. That
Mm.
was a red flag number one.
Mm.
On top of that, he didn't give us, we didn't have any return flights. So yeah, it was all really bad. And so I didn't get any deposit. It's my fault.
Mm.
This was the worst gig because, like I said, this was on me. And I had been so into the music that I was not careful about business at all. I learned my lesson and never happened to me again. But he didn't have any return flights. And so basically, when it came time for the wedding, we did the sound check, we did everything. When it came time to for the wedding, uh I told him like, yo, we are not playing unless you have our return flights. And then because we didn't want to play, we end up not playing at all. So Doobie end up getting screwed. I end up getting screwed and everybody with me. And then so this dude, I told him like, yo, you need to pay us for bringing us here, and we need to get our flight so we can go home. We didn't end up playing the wedding at all.
Wow.
Yeah, we didn't because he just didn't give us the return flights. Uh, and he didn't want to pay us at all. Like he didn't want to pay us anything. I'm just like, how do you bring us up here? You not want to pay us. You don't want to pay for us to go back into our country. We don't want to be here. You know what I'm saying?
Like not for
Like,
real, you know.
you know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? Like it was the worst. It was the worst experience ever. I did everything. We never even ended up playing. We got like half of the money
Mm-hmm.
after intense arguments and almost coming to throwing blows because I was
Mm-hmm.
getting ready to rock that nigga.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, like it was getting ready to be.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, it was getting there.
That's wild.
Darius was right there with me because he was getting ready. Like, yo, y'all tripping. But because we were in Canada, we were in another country, we decided to be
I was like,
diplomatic.
that sounds like
That we
the best.
can't
Yeah.
go there.
Mm.
So we had to kind of rely on the Lord to get us out of there. Needless to say, we got out of there.
I'm like, how?
He got
Like
he
who
got
ended
us
up?
our he ended
Okay,
up
yeah,
getting our flights. Like he ended up having some people in his ear like telling him like, yo, you need to get them home. You brought them
yeah,
here. Like it's only right.
yeah.
Um that was like the worst experience I've ever
That
had.
I don't
And
know
then
what could be
I felt
worse.
bad because I brought people
Mhm.
along. I'm so glad that they didn't judge me and not do music with me after that ever again. But that's yeah, that definitely happened. That was in 2018 too.
Oof.
So yeah, it's not like I was already in the game, like making moves in the game at that point when that happened. But that shifted everything for me. Like I was like, okay, I really need to lock in on my business and really um make some stipulations and just know that if they can't meet my demands and they can't give them deposits beforehand,
Mhm.
can't see them flights, if y'all don't have a plan, how are we getting around? Like they didn't have a way for us to get around. We were in Canada.
Yeah,
Like I'm like, yeah, that's kind of it was just a lot.
yeah.
Um, that was the worst gig ever.
That's that. I think that
Award.
tops it, bro. I've done good a good 20 something episodes of this show. Man, that's rough. That's rough.
Yeah.
That's rough. And then the fact you preempted it saying like, "Oh, this may not be the worst." I don't know what.
I mean, yeah, I mean, I've had a lot of bad experiences, but that's probably the worst because it's the first one that came to my mind. It probably is the worst.
I'm like, that's the way. And then like, it's on you. It's not like you were a part of. It's not like you were a part of someone else's gig when
Yeah,
it happened.
no, it
Like
was
that's
it's on
usually
me.
like usually the stories I get is like, oh, the keyboard wasn't transposed, like that, stuff like that.
Yeah,
I've gotten some business worse too, but like that dog, that was crazy.
yeah, that was the worst on a bunch of levels.
Yeah,
Uh, and through that, me and Doobie Powell got even closer. Like trauma bonds people.
yeah,
So
yeah,
it's just like we were already cool, but that was like, yeah, you my brother for real.
yeah.
'Cause we've been through the trenches. Like he got he got messed over. I don't know if he ever got paid anything. And like he'll tell you the story. He says it himself. He's like, man, I don't think I got paid. Like I think I just got back home. Like
Crazy,
yeah,
crazy.
it was weird. It was
Yeah,
all
man.
weird. Yeah.
So, top three keyboard player like legends, and then top three keyboard players you know.
Phew, man.
If you want to do five, like to make it safe, like you know.
I don't have a I don't have this is really difficult for me because of where my influences go. Um I think top three. I man, I don't know. My favorite. I'll just say who my favorites are.
Mm-hmm.
My some of my favorites. My favorite three is McCoy Tyner, who is John Coltrane's pianist.
Yeah,
Uh, he's like my number one guy. Herbie Hancock is also one of my favorites, and Kenny Kirkland um, is probably my three biggest piano influences.
mm-hmm.
Um, that's where I get inspiration from a lot of old things. Oh, also Bernard Wright, rest in peace as
Oh
well.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Bernard Wright.
I got a chance to meet him too because I went
Woo!
to Snarky's live recording I guess it was 2 years ago now. But I got to meet him, and he was super cool. Yeah.
And
Mm-hmm.
snarky. Uh, Bernard, incredible.
Yeah.
Um, he was one of my later influences. Like at a certain point, I stopped being super heavily influenced by a lot. Like I had already had my influences. This is
Mm-hmm.
where they were. I don't really have any more influences besides these people.
Mm-hmm.
I got put onto Bernard Wright by Split, and it made me feel like I was in college and had to go shed again.
Yeah.
like, like definitely Bernard. Top 3 keyboard players that I know. I don't know that I can say. Uh, I don't know, man, because it depends on what for. And I'm the type of person I play, so many different genres. Like I have
Mhm.
top threes for certain things.
Well, if you just want to list off like your favorites, like it ain't
Yeah,
gotta
I'll
be
just
like
list off some
just
of my favorites
yeah, yeah,
because top 3 is so controversial because it's
yeah,
just
yeah,
like it's not even a real thing. It's not. There's just
yeah.
so many amazing people. Um, but I'll name off some people that I know. Antoine Walker is
Mm-hmm.
amazing. Uh, one of my favorites. Um, I love I love Aaron Mayfield. He's incredible.
Mm-hmm.
I think people should really listen to him some more. Um, Sullivan Fortner
He's
is
come up in the last 3 episodes. Yeah, he's dope.
Woo.
Yeah.
Sullivan's crazy. He's one of the best. Um, uh, I think right now, as far as young pianist goes, Jahari Stampley is one of the craziest. He's super amazing. Super humble guy. There's so many others, man. I'm like gonna be mad at myself for forgetting them because I'm gonna think about them later and be like, yo, I should have definitely said this name.
Mm-hmm.
Um, uh, yeah, there's just man, so many. I feel like I named 3 right there though,
No, that's
but
that's a good 3. I'll if you want to leave it there, you can leave it there.
there's so much more,
Mm-hmm.
but I can't think of everybody right now.
Gotcha. It's
Uh,
all good. It's all good.
yeah,
Couple more, and I'm gonna get you out of here.
no, no.
All right. I know this is gonna stump you, or it may not. It stumps a lot of people. Super group. You got an unlimited budget, unlimited availability. Only thing is they just have to be alive. You can build your super band. Be rhythm section. It's usually like rhythm section, horn section, and then like what vocalist or front person you want them back. You want to back them up.
Ooh.
At first it was like one of each instrument, but if you want to do like multiple keyboard players or like you want 2 drummers, but like what is your ideal super group and who they're backing up?
Hold on, that super group that I'm watching.
This is you can build your band, build
Okay,
build
build my band. Okay,
build
so super group for me.
yeah.
Uh, Ooh, man,
Unlimited budget, unlimited availability,
I'm
and they can
limited.
back up. I'm saying like they can back up someone like Sade who hasn't been out the house in 15 years, but she's available.
Yeah, I
Like, what
mean,
is this dream
I'm,
scenario?
I'm definitely going with my guys from Florida. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it's up always.
Uh-huh.
We can do anything.
Mm-hmm.
So I say to Darius McCombs on bass.
Mm-hmm.
I'd bring in Jonathan Dubose on guitar.
Oh wait,
I
pause
bring
real quick. Pause real quick. You don't have to be in the situation.
Okay,
You don't
cool.
you don't have to be in the situation. Like
Okay.
this can be like
So
whatever. If you want
I
to be
don't
in it,
think
you
about
can. Yeah.
situations that I don't make because I'm focused on trying to be a situation maker. That's what I want to be.
Fair. Yeah, yeah.
That's where my focus is. So it's hard to think about super band that I would put together. Like I'm not like I feel like everybody else, they already they're already working and they already have their thing. So I really don't be thinking about how what is my favorite? You know what I'm saying? Like I want to be a situation maker.
Yeah, yeah.
Um so I would definitely say to Darius on bass with anybody though. Like
Mm-hmm.
not even with me. Like he can do anything.
Uh-huh.
David Shiverton on drums, he
Mm-hmm.
can do anything. He can play every single genre, and he's amazing on the grid, off the grid.
Yeah.
Jonathan Dubose on guitar.
Mm-hmm.
My dream duo guitar situation is Chris Payton and Jonathan Dubose
Okay.
on guitar. Um, if I could have another drummer, um, if I could have another drummer, I'd have my brother. His name is Destin Johnson. I'd have him playing like electronic drums because
Mm-hmm.
so incredible on the electronic drums. Uh, and it just depends. Like I have different super groups for different genres, but this is just kind of like a broad one.
Mm-hmm.
I would have um I would probably have Antoine Walker on organ.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I would probably have who else? Man, and there's so many people that I could sub out in that too.
Yeah.
Um, I would probably who else? Man, this stuff gets so difficult. I don't get asked questions like this.
I know. I this stumps everybody. This stumps everybody.
uh, who else would I get? You know what's crazy? So like, I don't really know a lot of aux players that
Mm-hmm.
I have worked with that are like really super amazing because aux is really it's an art. It's a real art. Uh, but off the top of my head, I love Sean Alexander
Okay.
on um on auxiliaries. But I love Xavier Taplin.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, he probably be my number one call for auxiliaries because I've never heard anybody color the way that he has. I've never heard it. And I've seen him do that on like one keyboard. It's kind of stupid. Like,
Uh-huh.
bro, how are you getting all of this sound
Yeah, yeah.
out of one keyboard? And the crazy part about him is too that he's amazing at everything. Like he's an amazing like piano player. Like I love hearing him on mains too.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's up either way with him.
Yeah.
So he's definitely a dream team kind of guy for me. Um, Also too, like Sput is one of my favorite drummers. He's one of the best in the world. There's no argument about that. I don't care what anybody says.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I've seen him night after night just be
Mm-hmm.
so freaking amazing. I've seen him create and be a genius. So honestly, too, like I would also have him. Like I would definitely have him as a dream drummer if I didn't have David. Like
Mm-hmm.
I would have him too.
Yeah.
Like on the same level, like not one over the other. Like
Yeah, for
literally,
sure.
like either
Nice.
either one.
Nice.
That's kind of how I feel. Um, yeah, man. I don't know. It's kind of difficult. I would use all the horn players from Ghost Note.
Fair.
Danny Watisse on trombone.
Mm-hmm.
So
Danny
cold.
White-Tanis. Yeah, yeah. That's a homie.
Yeah, there you go. He's Bro, he's so cold, so amazing. One of the best trombone players I've heard in a long time. Um, uh, all the Ghost Note staff, Sly,
Mm-hmm.
Jonathan, Jelani Brooks, all of them. That's all I would need,
Mm-hmm.
really. Um, yeah, it's a lot, man. It's hard to kind of narrow it down because there's just so many guys that are amazing at different things.
Mm-hmm.
But that's basically all I got right now.
Yeah, man. Who are they backing up? Are they backing up a vocalist or is this just
Mhm.
instrumental? Yeah.
Who are they backing up? Yeah, they could back up anybody really. They could back up. I would love to hear them do something. I would love to hear them in a gospel situation because I miss real gospel music. Like people
Mm-hmm.
don't really make real gospel music anymore. That's why that tour was super refreshing because it was just like we got to really play real gospel music and it be a thing. Um, I would have loved to hear them do the reunion tour we just did. Back up
Dope.
all those guys. Like that
Dope.
would have been a crazy situation too, you
Woo.
know. Um, you know, they could back up anybody, you know. Um, I love to hear them in a pop situation too. Dua
Mm-hmm.
Lipa, like something like that.
Interesting.
Some
All right. Yeah, yeah.
like something crazy, like huge and big, and like they'd be incredible for that. That you know. You know, I don't know who else. Yeah, I don't really know who else.
Hey, man, that's a good crew. That's a good crew, man. All right,
Yeah.
last thing. What do you wanna leave with the people? Words of encouragement, advice, just something broad. And what do you want to leave with the
Yeah.
people? Yeah.
Um,
Last thing you want to say.
to all of um well, this podcast is mainly for keyboard players, but it's just to musicians in general. But um keep literally keep God first in everything that you do. Um if you commit your activities to the Lord, your plans will be achieved. That's Proverbs 16:3. I wholeheartedly believe that. Um the industry is very difficult to navigate. Sometimes it's not always difficult to get in, sometimes it is, but it's difficult to navigate. And sometimes you can never be the perfect person. There's one person who tells you that you need to be super extroverted and talk to people and network. And then there are some people that say, well, you need to not be annoying. And you're being tossed to and fro as to how do I stay hired. You go on your path and let the Lord direct you. And whatever door that God has for you to walk through, nobody can, it doesn't matter what your personality is like, as long as you're not rude and mean, it doesn't matter what your personality is. You don't have to overly be something that you're not to
Mm-hmm.
make it in somewhere when you have God on your side.
Mm-hmm.
And you want to be free. This music industry can be seriously taxing on your mind and mental health. But if you rely on God, like you'll be able to be successful and be mentally free and mentally stable. So I really, really, really want to encourage like do that, but be also diligent. Um, be diligent and full of faith. Faith without works is dead. So as before you get on your big gig, every single gig that you do, anything that you do, even if you're by yourself, even at you're at a church with 50 members, you put on a production the best way you can. You be the best you can in the smallest of spaces. Be faithful over small things, and God will bless you with many things. I was a minister of music at a church. Out here in Clarksville, Tennessee. It's not a huge church. I was doing whole productions
Mm-hmm.
and really, really being faithful to a place like nobody knows where Clarksville, Tennessee is. Nobody knows that that's like right outside of Nashville.
Mm-hmm.
But I gave my all in that situation. God saw me give my all in that situation. And when I was done with that situation, he blessed me to be able to play at Transformation
Mm-hmm.
Church. He blessed me to go on the reunion tour. He put me in all of these other spaces because I was faithful over small things.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say be encouraged on your journey. Don't get weary. Rely on God and really be faithful over small things and be professional always. And you will make it and you will soar.
Yeah, bro. Much appreciated. Thank you, man.
Sure.
Socials for everybody.
Yep. So you can find me on Instagram at V_KEYS023. It's V Keyz. You can find me there. Again, follow the Smoogies band.
Mm-hmm.
Trust me, like you want to follow the Smoogies. We're getting ready to do some really cool things. That's at THESMOOGIES band. The Smoogies band. Follow us. Um, yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, I'm on YouTube as well. Like you can
Mm-hmm.
find me on YouTube if you just type in V Keyz. You'll find probably my commission tribute is my most popular video. It'll come up. You'll find my page there. Um, and yeah, that's pretty much all of it.
Yes, sir. All right, man. Appreciate you being on. Um, like I said, or like you said, follow those pages. Uh, Colorful dang it, I messed up. I butchered the name. Colorful Himalayas plus Panera Bounce Live from the Smoogies is out now. When is the?
Yep.
Can you say when the full album is coming out?
I can't say
All
because I
right.
don't.
Okay. All
But
right. Gotcha. Gotcha.
I will say, um, I believe sometime in the spring, sometime
Gotcha.
hopefully, if not spring, beginning of summer, like June, um, is when when we're aiming for. I'm in the mixing process,
Uh-huh.
and that's one of the woes about being somebody who does everything is that you have to do everything
Right.
and a lot of time for everything,
Mm-hmm.
and also regular life. Regular
Right.
life is very important. It's
Exactly.
not just music. So I can't say exactly the date, but I will say we will be dropping another single very, very soon as well, like before the album drops. So there'll be more music, more content to come for sure.
Gotcha. Gotcha. And that's been another episode of the Major Keys podcast. Keep pressing on. We'll see y'all next time.